let's jump over to the college basketball scene tonight on a Friday night, an 8 o'clock start. It's a Big East tilt. It's UConn taking on St. John's. This line opened up as a minus 1.5-point favorite towards UConn. Now we're seeing 2.5s in the marketplace as a favorite for the Huskies. 144.5 is the total in this game. And if we look at the matchup in the Big East, the number one most efficient offense in Big East play, it's St. John's. The number one most efficient defense in Big East play, it's UConn. Great battle on a Friday night from MSG. Joe, what's your spread line?
Yeah, I mean, Donnie, we saw this last night. There was a book or two that had this as almost a pick'em, -1 a pick'em, with St. John's, of course, being the home team here. And now we've seen nothing overnight but UConn money. Now, this is, as of now, Donnie, this is the ultimate UConn test, right? The only other game in which UConn looks to be favored by less than 8 points is going to be a road game against Nova on the 21st. They are up to an 11% chance to go undefeated in the Big East. Now, would it shock you, Donnie, if I told you they would be the first team to ever go undefeated in the Big East in league history? That's what's going on here right now with UConn. The fact that they are only this short a favorite, boy, oh boy, this is kind of the big test here. Are we taking UConn serious? Have they been playing with fire too often? The Johnnies are going to give them a run for their money here tonight.
Let's go down to the MVC. That's Belmont taking on Illinois Chicago. This line opened up overnight, roughly a 3.5-point favorite here for the road team, Belmont, and it still sits at 3.5 at just about every outlet. Some 3s and some 2.5s are starting to get into the marketplace, but a total listed at 150.5. The one thing we know about the MVC, Belmont, the most efficient offense in play, effective field goal position, number one, 3-point percentage, number one, 2-point percentage, number one. We should get some points in this game, but also, Joe, what's your spread line between these two?
Yeah, you got to love Belmont, man. They have been absolutely dominant. There are pure shooters on this team. It's actually a great brand of basketball that they play. And listen, if they win tonight, the Missouri Valley race pretty much done with, right? Already, I think, Donnie, 87% chance that they're going to win the league outright heading into this game. A win here against UIC, who has been great, number 130 in KenPom here. This has actually been a very, very good team. But, Belmont's not going to be anywhere near the tournament bubble if they lose here. But at a certain point, I'd rather see a 27-6 Belmont team over a 19-14 Ohio State team, Donnie. So I'm rooting for Belmont here because I think they can do some damage in March Madness.
A10 action. Dayton going to take on VCU at VCU. This line opened up overnight, -7.5. Still sits at most outlets here, Joe, at 7.5 and a total of 149.5. The matchup's going to be VCU's offense, number 2 in conference play in efficiency, going up against Dayton's defense, number 2 in conference in efficiency here. Spread line for you, Joe. Dayton, VCU in the A10 tonight.
Yeah, it's not going well for Dayton here, but we are seeing a lot of overnight VCU money coming into this one. Also, starting to see the total tick down a little bit here. So it just has not gone well for Dayton this season. They've lost some games they should have won. They've gotten blown out in games that basically teams were better than them at. You don't see that with Dayton. So it's been a nice run, but I think changes are coming. And I think VCU at home, there's a reason why they are this big a favorite over the Dayton Flyers, which hasn't happened in years past like this, Donnie.
Yeah, Anthony Grant's Dayton squad had a 4-game losing streak. LaSalle, St. Joe's, Rhode Island, then got beat by 30 points to St. Louis before bouncing back with a 2-point victory over St. Bonaventure. We'll see what happens tonight. Men's college basketball, a 21-1 start for the Michigan Wolverines, their best start in their history, which means, Joe, they must be pulverizing teams. And they did that once again last night. We were talking about a 2-touchdown-plus victory. Actually, excuse me, it was 24.5 yesterday. Easily dispatching of Penn State, who drops to 1-11 in the Big Ten, Joe. 110-69. That offense on Michigan, if you're not ready, can beat you down.
Yeah, and listen, they have done under good old Dusty May there, Michigan. They have done this all year long where the bottom teams here, right, the not very good teams, they have done a great job of just pulverizing and leaving absolutely nothing to chance. They've done it very, very well. The only question you had wasn't if they were going to win, Donnie. It was a matter of by how much, coming off of a big week in which they ended up beating, undefeated Nebraska last week, as well as on the road against Michigan State. So you were wondering, were they going to have maybe a little bit of a letdown? Yeah, no. They destroyed them from the opening tip right until the end.
And by the way, Joe, we got big-time basketball in the city of New York tonight. Connecticut going to take on St. John's. St. John's, the underdog in the Garden? Say it isn't so. We haven't seen that since Prince Hakeem and Coming to America. Yes, I love halftime. Come on now. What's going to happen in this game tonight? UConn and St. John's.
Well, again, for those that might have missed it, I mean, this game has got some significance to it as far as history goes, because UConn is going to have the opportunity to do something that no other team in Big East history has ever done, and that is go undefeated in the Big East. This is the shortest spread that they're a favorite in, Donnie. The only other game that they're going to be a favorite of less than or 8 points or less, that's going to be Villanova, and that game is coming up on the 21st. But right now, if they win this game, they got a really good chance of being, well, historic, shall we say. And this doesn't feel like a historically great UConn team, but let's face it, some of the other teams in the Big East this year, not exactly historically great either. But the Johnnies are pretty much the only thing standing in the way right now from them and running the tables in the Big East.
Yeah, when does DePaul get kicked out of the Big East, by the way? I mean, enough of the madness at this point here. Let's flip it over, Joe, to the ACC on a Saturday. One of the more legendary teams, the Duke Blue Devils, taking on another legendary team in UNC. What a rivalry we have. And also Duke as the favorite on the road at -5.5 in a total that currently sits at 150.5. Duke, the best offense in ACC play with an efficiency rating of 121.6. Going up against a defense they can get after. Duke, UNC, the rivalry renewed on Saturday.
Yeah, this was a game that we had thought maybe, all right, Duke with Boston College, which was one of our favorite plays earlier in the week here, Donnie. We said, boy, this is a big look-ahead spot here because Duke's got North Carolina coming up here, and I think this is going to be good because North Carolina right now is playing its best basketball. They made a lineup change. They inserted a freshman at the guard position. They had a terrible road trip out west a couple of weeks ago. But ever since then, Donnie, they have been running the table. They look a lot more like the North Carolina teams of old. So this is going to be a war. And I can tell you, Donnie, that number feels a little light as far as the total goes. I think we might get some points here in this one. I think it's going to be a wild shootout.
Illinois and Michigan State, 8 p.m. Saturday night from Spartyville. Illinois comes to town. They're not the favorites. Actually, Michigan State at a -1.5. We just saw a short while ago, Michigan State play Michigan's like, oh, really good defense. How do they hold up? They didn't. Now coming to town, Illinois, the most efficient offense in Big Ten play, going up against the most efficient defense in Big Ten play in Michigan State. Michigan State, the slight favorite in this game. Do we agree with that, Joe?
Well, I mean, listen, we just watched them lose to what? Minnesota. I mean, they got a point guard there that loves to play iso ball, thinks he's James Harden. He's also going around kicking guys in the groin every chance he gets. I mean, this is not. I mean, Jeremy Fears is not playing very well, and unfortunately, Michigan State goes as he goes. And it has not been a good stretch here. So back-to-back losses for them at home. It screams Michigan State in a bounce back, but you would have thought they handled business against Minnesota, but they did not.
By the way, that highlight clip of Jeremy Fears, you would figure it's like, oh, is that an accumulation of all the time he's been at Michigan State, or at least this season alone? No, it's one game. Yeah. He's like a bowling ball when you're not watching, that's set on destruction, terror, and mayhem for opposing opponents here. We'll see if that plays into it here. How about the Iron Bowl on the basketball court? Auburn taking on Alabama in SEC play. Auburn, Joe, opened up as the favorite at -1.5, still sitting today at -1.5. And look at that total. A juicy 176.5. Alabama and Auburn from Auburn here. What gives?
Well, we just watched Alabama take on Texas A&M, and we said, all right, but tricky spot here because Bama knows what they've got coming up on deck, and Texas A&M has been overperforming, shall we say, based upon what we thought they were going to be preseason. And that total in that game, Donnie, was close to 180. And guess what? That went flying over the total. First one to 100 wins. Doesn't it feel like this is exactly what we're going to get in this game, too? It feels like, especially Auburn, they live by the three, die by the three in a lot of spots as well. It feels like points are coming and in bunches in that game.
BYU is going to take on Houston on Saturday. BYU had everything in front of them here. Yeah, they suffered an early 2-point loss to Connecticut, Joe. But how about this? 4 out of the past 5 games, they've come up on the losing side. Losing to Texas Tech, losing to Arizona, losing to Kansas, and losing to Oklahoma State 99-92. Yes. Now they try to bounce back against Houston at this point. Houston's on the road as a 2.5-point favorite. Is this a good spot to buy back on Dibansa and the crew, or is Houston just too much for BYU, who's quite frankly struggling to say the least right now?
Yeah, we knew this was going to be a tough stretch for BYU. And what happened with Oklahoma State, Donnie, is we see a lot of times, we say, right, the game prior, that loss to Kansas, they basically lost that Kansas game twice by losing to Oklahoma State. That should have been a bounce back spot, but they were still smarting after that Kansas loss. Now they got to go into Houston, and it's heading in the wrong direction. Listen, the kid is still going to be the number one, if not, number 2 pick in the NBA draft, Ibanza, but my goodness, they gotta start fast, Donnie. They're always trailing at the break and have to make these huge comebacks, and sometimes they fall short. They can't do that with Houston. This game could be over in the first half.
I'm smashing the NBA, Joe. I'm going to do it again tonight. Where are you going with your action for the people?
I'm going to the Mo Valley. That's right, Missouri Valley for a rematch between Drake and Illinois State here tonight. Now, we saw this game back in December, late December, and Illinois State just absolutely destroyed Drake. At Drake, by the way, which was kind of crazy. They shot lights out, which they usually do, the Redbirds. They were 13 of 23 from 3. But they also, believe it or not, won by 17, and they turned the ball over 23 times and still blew out Drake. Drake has got the worst defense in the Missouri Valley. It is absolutely not like the Drake teams of old. This is a big spread, 9.5, 10, but it's just not a good matchup for Drake. Now I have to go on the road. Illinois State, yeah, they are going to win by double digits, just like Bradley did twice against them, and so did Belmont. Lay the big number with Illinois State here tonight, Donnie, because the
Redbirds.